The throne room of the Dominion stretched for nearly a mile. Great pillars of black stone rose toward a ceiling lost in shadow. Thousands of alien nobles stood in perfect rows, their scaled bodies wrapped in robes of silver and gold. They had gathered to witness something they considered entertainment, the submission of another young species. Ambassador walked alone down the central path. Her boots echoed against the polished floor. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple black uniform with Earth's symbol on her shoulder. No jewelry, no decorations, nothing that suggested fear or the desire to impress. They watched her with amusement. They stood 8 feet tall, with long necks and faces like serpents. Their eyes held the cold confidence of a species that had ruled this part of the galaxy for 12,000 years. They had crushed 100 civilizations. They had turned proud empires into dust. To them, humanity was just another primitive race that had wandered too far from home. At the end of the path sat the High Ascendant. His throne was made from the bones of conquered kings. His scales were deep purple, almost black, and ancient scars marked his face. He had lived for 600 years. He had personally ordered the destruction of 17 worlds. When he smiled, his teeth were like knives. Stopped at the proper distance and gave a small nod. Not a bow. The nobles whispered at this insult. "You stand before the High Ascendant of the Dominion," announced a herald. "Master of the Orion Spur, ruler of 1,000 systems, you will kneel." Did not kneel. She simply stood there, hands folded behind her back, and waited. Raised one clawed hand and the whispers stopped. He studied the human woman with curiosity. Most ambassadors trembled when they entered this room. Many had fainted. One had died of fear before reaching the throne. This small creature showed nothing. "You are brave," said. His voice was deep and rough. "Or perhaps stupid, we shall see which." "I am neither," replied. Her voice was steady. "I am simply here to talk." "Talk?" made the word sound like a joke. "Yes, let us talk. Your species has expanded into territory that belongs to the Dominion. You have built colonies on worlds that are ours by ancient right. You have refused to answer our communications for 3 years, and now you send one old woman to talk." "I am authorized to speak for all of humanity," said. "I carry our full offer of friendship." Laughter filled the throne room. Thousands of nobles found this very funny. Friendship. As if such a thing mattered. As if humanity had anything to offer that the Dominion could not simply take. Did not laugh. He leaned forward on his throne. "Let me explain something to you, human. The galaxy is not a place for friendship. It is a place of power. The strong rule, the weak serve. This has been true for 1,000,000 years. Your species is young. You do not understand." "We understand perfectly," said. "We simply disagree." "Disagree?" Eyes narrowed. "You disagree with reality itself." "We disagree with your version of it." Took a step forward. Guards moved toward her, but she ignored them. "Here is what humanity offers. Peace between our peoples, open trade routes, shared scientific knowledge, and mutual respect for each other's borders. We have no desire for war. We have no desire for conquest. We want only to exist alongside you as equals." The silence that followed was heavy, then began to laugh. It was a terrible sound, like rocks grinding together. The nobles joined him, and soon the entire throne room shook with their amusement. "Equals," finally said, wiping a tear from his eye. "You come into my throne room and speak of equality. Your species has existed for what? A few 100,000 years. You have traveled the stars for less than 3 centuries. The Dominion has ruled since before your ancestors climbed down from trees, and you speak of equality." He stood from his throne. At his full height, he towered over the human ambassador like a giant over an insect. "Here are my terms," he said. "Your species will accept tributary status. You will pay taxes to the Dominion. You will provide workers for our mining operations. You will surrender your military vessels. In exchange, we will allow you to continue existing. This is generous. Many species received far worse. Did not flinch, and if we refuse? Refuse seemed genuinely confused by the question. No species refuses. To refuse is to die. Then I will bring your terms to my government, said, but I will also bring our counteroffer. Perhaps wiser minds on both sides can find a path to peace. Sat back down on his throne of bones. You have one solar cycle to accept. After that, we will teach your species the same lesson we have taught so many others. We will burn one of your worlds. Not yet, just a small one. A colony, perhaps. Somewhere with enough people to make the message clear. And then you will accept our terms because you will understand that we are not making requests. We are giving orders. Stared at him for a long moment. Something flickered in her eyes, not fear, but something else. Something they had never seen before in the face of a conquered species. I understand, she said quietly. You believe that causing us pain will make us submit. You believe that killing our people will break our will. You believe this because it has always worked before. It has worked for 12,000 years, said. It will work again. Turned and began walking back down the long path toward the exit. The nobles watched her go, already bored, already thinking about the celebration that would follow humanity's inevitable surrender. But at the great doors stopped, she turned back one final time. High Ascendant, she called out, her voice carrying across the vast chamber, I came here hopping to find wisdom. I found only arrogance. I came hopping to find a partner for peace. I found only a bully who mistakes cruelty for strength. She paused. You say no species has ever refused you. You say this because you have only conquered species who knew when to surrender. Humanity is different. We do not surrender. We do not forget. And we do not forgive. She pushed open the great doors. When you attack our people, remember this moment. Remember that we offered peace. Remember that you chose war. And remember that we warned you. The doors closed behind her. Smiled and turned to his advisors. Brave words from a dying species. Prepare the fleet. We will teach these humans how the galaxy truly works. He had ruled for 600 years. He had crushed 100 civilizations. He had never been wrong. He was wrong now. Harvest 3 was a beautiful world. It had green fields that stretched to the horizon, blue oceans filled with fish, and skis where children flew kites on warm afternoons. The colony was only 60 years old, but it had grown fast. Nearly 2.5 million people called it home. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, and engineers. They had built schools and hospitals. They had planted forests and created parks. They had made a home among the stars. Maria Santos was 9 years old. She lived with her parents on a small farm outside the capital city. That morning, she helped her father feed the animals while her mother prepared breakfast. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Maria thought it was the most beautiful sunrise she had ever seen. She never saw another one. The fleet arrived at noon. 40 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and took positions around the planet. There were no warnings. There were no demands. There was no time for evacuation. The first orbital strikes hit the capital city. Buildings that had taken decades to construct vanished in seconds. Schools filled with children became craters. Hospitals became tombs. The lucky ones died instantly. The unlucky ones had time to understand what was happening. Maria's mother grabbed her and ran for the basement shelter. Her father stayed behind to help the neighbors. Through the small basement window, Maria watched the sky turn red. She heard sounds she would never forget, screaming, explosions, and then silence. The terrible silence that comes when there is no one left to scream. The bombardment lasted for 6 hours. They were thorough. They targeted population centers first, then infrastructure, then anything that remained standing. They jammed all communications so no distress calls could escape. They wanted the rest of humanity to wonder what was happening, to imagine the worst, to feel helpless. When they finally stopped, Harvest 3 was a graveyard. 1,800,000 people were dead. 340,000 of them were children. The fields that once grew food were now ash. The oceans were poisoned. The beautiful world had become a monument to cruelty. Maria Santos survived. She was one of 600,000 who made it through the attack. She was found 3 days later, still sitting in her basement, still holding her mother's hand. Her mother had died from her injuries during the second hour. Maria had not let go. The news reached Earth 8 days after the attack. The communications blackout had worked perfectly. By the time rescue ships arrived, by the time the full horror was understood, they were already celebrating their victory. In the throne room of the Dominion received reports with satisfaction. The attack had gone exactly as planned. The human colony was destroyed. The message was sent. Now humanity would surrender, just like every other species before them. "Have they responded?" he asked his chief advisor. "Not yet, High Ascendant, but they will, they always do." Nodded, he expected a message within days, begging for mercy, offering complete surrender, perhaps asking to negotiate the terms of their submission. This was how it always went. Days passed, no message came. A week went by, then 2, then 3. They began to feel confused. What were the humans doing? Why weren't they responding? "Perhaps they are too shocked to respond," suggested one advisor. "The attack was very effective." "Perhaps they are fighting among themselves," said another, "deciding who will be blamed for this failure." Was not concerned. "They are simply taking time to accept their defeat. Soon they will come crawling to us. Prepare generous terms. I want this species as tributaries, not corpses. Dead slaves produce nothing." But another week passed, and another, and still nothing. On the galactic stage, other species watched with curiosity. The Federation sent a quiet message to Earth, asking if they needed assistance in negotiating with the Dominion. There was no reply. The Hollow Ones, a species known for their information networks, tried to scan human communication channels. They found only silence. The merchants of Axis sent trade representatives to human colonies, hoping to profit from the coming surrender. The representatives returned with confused reports. "The humans are not panicking," they said. "They are not arguing. They are not preparing to surrender." "Then what are they doing?" asked the Merchant Council. "We do not know. They are simply quiet. They go to work. They care for their families. They look at the stars. But they do not speak about the Dominion. They do not speak about surrender. When we ask about the attack, they say nothing. They just look at us with strange eyes." 6 weeks after the attack on Harvest 3, the galaxy had grown nervous. This was not normal. This was not how conquered species behaved. Even though we're beginning to worry. "Send another fleet to their territory," ordered. "Perhaps they need another lesson." But his admirals hesitated. "High Ascendant, our scouts report unusual activity near the human borders." "What kind of activity?" "We are not certain. Ship movements that do not match any known pattern. Energy signatures in places where there should be nothing. And our listening posts in that sector have gone silent." "Silent destroyed." "We do not know, High Ascendant. They simply stopped transmitting." For the first time in his long life, felt something cold in his stomach. It was not fear. He had forgotten what fear felt like centuries ago. It was uncertainty. And for a ruler who had always known exactly what his enemies would do, uncertainty was deeply unsettling. "What are they planning?" he asked quietly. No one could answer. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral stood before a wall of screens. Each screen showed a different piece of the largest military operation in human history. Ships moving into position, soldiers completing their training, weapons being loaded, supply lines being secured. Around him, hundreds of officers worked in focused silence. There was no anger in the room, no calls for revenge, no emotional speeches about justice. There was only cold, calculated purpose. A young lieutenant approached him. "Sir, The Galactic Council is requesting communication. They want to help negotiate a peace settlement. Did not look away from the screens. Tell them there will be no negotiation. Sorry. They killed 1.8 million of our people. They killed 340,000 children. They did this to teach us a lesson. Finally turned to face the lieutenant. His eyes were calm and empty, like a frozen lake. We are going to teach them one instead. What lesson is that, sir? Turned back to the screens. Across 16 star systems, human forces were reaching their final positions. In 48 hours, Operation Crucible would begin. That humanity does not negotiate with those who murder our children, he said. We execute them. The lieutenant swallowed hard and returned to his station. In her hospital bed on a refugee ship, Maria Santos slept. She dreamed of green fields and blue skis and her mother's voice calling her for breakfast. She did not know that an entire species was about to learn what happens when you hurt humanity's children. She did not know that she would never be afraid again. Because soon there would be nothing left to be afraid of. The war room had no windows. It was buried half a mile underground, protected by enough armor to survive a direct nuclear strike. The men and women gathered inside were the most powerful military leaders humanity had ever produced. Admirals, generals, commanders from every branch of service. They had fought pirates in the asteroid belts, defended colonies from hostile wildlife, and maintained peace across human space for generations. None of them had ever fought a real war. Humanity had been lucky. In 300 years of space travel, they had never encountered a truly hostile alien species. There had been misunderstandings, brief conflicts, and tense moments, but nothing like this. Now they sat in silence, watching Admiral walk to the front of the room. He was a tall man with dark skin and white hair. He had served in the fleet for 40 years. He had trained most of the officers in this room. He was known for being calm, patient, and fair. Today there was something different in his eyes, something hard and cold. 3 days ago, he began, we received the final casualty reports from Harvest 3. 1,800,000 dead. 340,000 of them were children under the age of 14. The youngest victim was a baby named Thomas. He was 6 weeks old. No one moved, no one breathed. They did this to send us a message. They wanted us to understand that they are powerful and we are weak. They wanted us to surrender. Paused. We are not going to surrender. He pressed a button and the wall behind him lit up with a map of space. Hundreds of points glowed red, military bases, shipyards, command centers, and the throne world itself. This is Operation Crucible. It is not a battle plan. It is not a campaign strategy. It is an extinction-level response. Admiral, the oldest officer in the room, leaned forward. You mean to destroy them completely? No, said. I mean to destroy their ability to ever threaten anyone again. Their military will cease to exist. Their leadership will be captured and tried for crimes against humanity. Their empire will end. The people will survive, but the Dominion will not. That is genocide, someone whispered. Turned sharply. Genocide is what they did to Harvest 3. What we are doing is justice. There is a difference. We will not kill civilians. We will not bomb cities. We will not murder children. We will do what they did not. We will fight with precision, with discipline, and with purpose. And when it is over, we will help rebuild what we destroyed. He brought up another display. For the past 6 weeks we have been preparing. Sleeper ships that we positioned years ago are now active and in place throughout space. Our AI systems have mapped every defense network, every patrol route, every communication channel. We know where their admirals sleep. We know what their commanders eat for breakfast. We know everything. General, head of ground forces, stood up. How is that possible? We have never had agents in space. We have had them for decades, replied. Small probes no bigger than a grain of sand scattered throughout the galaxy, watching, listening, learning. We never thought we would need to use them. We hoped we never would, but we prepared anyway. Why? Asked. Why would we prepare for a war we did not want? Smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Because we are human, and humans have learned through thousands of years of history that hopping for peace is not enough. You must also prepare for war. You must prepare so thoroughly, so completely, that when war comes, you can end it quickly and absolutely. He clicked to the next slide. It showed a timeline with hundreds of simultaneous attacks. The assault will begin in 48 hours. At exactly 600 Galactic Standard Time, 847 targets will be hit simultaneously. Every warship, every military station, every command center all at once. They will have no time to respond, no time to coordinate, no time to understand what is happening. By the time they realize they are under attack, half their fleet will already be gone. Simultaneously, Admiral's voice was filled with disbelief. Across 16 star systems, the coordination alone. Our AI networks will handle coordination. Human commanders will handle judgment. Every target has been selected to minimize civilian casualties. Every attack has been planned to maximize military damage. Every soldier knows exactly what they need to do and exactly when they need to do it. Commander Williams, the youngest officer in the room, raised her hand. What about prisoner exchanges? What about ceasefire negotiations? What if they try to surrender? His face became very still. There will be no negotiations. There will be no ceasefires. There will be no early end to this operation. We will continue until every objective is complete. But sir, the rules of war. The rules of war exist between civilized peoples who respect each other's right to exist. His voice was quiet but sharp. They killed nearly 2 million innocent people to make a political point. They murdered children in their schools. They did not offer warnings. They did not offer terms. They simply killed because they believed we were too weak to stop them. He walked closer to Williams, his eyes never leaving hers. We are going to show them what strength really looks like. Not the strength to kill innocents, any coward can do that. The strength to face evil and destroy it completely, without hesitation, without mercy, and without doubt. That is what this operation is about. Not revenge, not anger, but the cold, absolute certainty that some actions cannot be forgiven and some enemies cannot be negotiated with. William sat back down slowly. Now, continued, let us go through the operation in detail. Every commander will know their role. Every ship will know their target. Every soldier will know why they fight. For the next 12 hours they planned. They argued. They refined. They prepared for things that might go wrong and planned responses for situations that might never happen. It was the most thorough military operation in human history. When it was over, the officers filed out in silence. There were no cheers, no battle cries, no excited chatter. These were professionals going to do a terrible job, and they knew the weight of what was coming. Remain behind, alone in the war room. He looked at the map of space, at all the red dots that represented targets, at all the places where people would die in 48 hours. He thought about Harvest 3. He thought about Maria Santos, the little girl who had held her dead mother's hand for 2 days. He thought about Thomas, the baby who never got to take his first steps. We did not start this, he said quietly to the empty room, but we will finish it. He turned off the displays and walked out. In 48 hours, the Dominion would learn that humans do not make threats. They make promises. And they always keep them. The first warning came at 600 Galactic Standard Time. A sensor operator on the edge of their territory noticed something strange on his screen. Hundreds of small objects were appearing from nowhere, ships that had been hidden in the darkness of space, now lighting their engines all at once. He opened his mouth to report the contact. He never got the chance. Across 16 star systems in 847 locations, human forces attacked at exactly the same moment. There was no warning, no declaration of war, no final chance to surrender. One moment, the Dominion was the most powerful empire in the Orion Spur. The next moment, it was burning. The attack was nothing like what the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships did not form battle lines like other species. They did not advance slowly or exchange fire from a distance. They came in fast and hard, each vessel knowing exactly where to go and exactly what to hit. AI systems coordinated thousands of ships across light years of space, making adjustments in microseconds, responding to changes before the enemy even knew changes had happened. Admiral was sleeping when the attack began. He commanded the Third Fleet, 60 warships guarding the approaches to the throne world. He woke to alarms and chaos. His officers were screaming. His screens showed nothing but red warning lights. "Report," he shouted, trying to make sense of the confusion. "We are under attack, sir. Human ships, hundreds of them, they came out of nowhere." "Impossible. Our sensors would have detected them days ago." "They did not, sir. They are already inside our formation. Half our ships are gone." Looked at the tactical display. It was true. Where 60 warships had floated just moments ago, there were now only 30. The others were debris, destroyed so quickly that their crews never even reached their battle stations. And the human ships kept coming. All vessels formed defensive positions, returned fire. But his orders meant nothing. The human ships moved like water, flowing around his defenses, striking at weak points he did not even know existed. His weapons fired into empty space while human missiles found their targets with perfect accuracy. His commanders died mid-sentence as their bridges exploded around them. In 15 minutes, the Third Fleet ceased to exist. Admiral's last sight was a human destroyer, small and fast, diving straight toward his flagship. He thought in that final moment that it was almost beautiful. Then there was only light. On the fortress moon orbiting the throne world, High Ascendant stood in his command center, watching the impossible happen. Reports flooded in from across the Dominion, all of them disasters. The shipyards at Prime, destroyed. The military academy on III, captured. The fuel reserves at Station Nexus, burning. The communication relay network, gone. "How," he whispered, "how is this happening?" His advisors had no answers. They stood around him, their faces showing something they had not felt in 12,000 years. Fear. Real, genuine fear. "High Ascendant, we must negotiate," begged Chancellor Aura. "Contact the humans. Offer them whatever they want. Land, resources, tribute, anything." "You think I have not tried?" Voice cracked. "I have sent 17 messages to their fleet commanders. 17. They do not respond, they simply destroy." He turned to his communication officer. "Try again. Open all channels. Tell them we are willing to surrender. Tell them we will accept any terms." The officer obeyed, broadcasting the message across every frequency. For a long moment there was only silence. Then a voice answered. It was calm and steady, speaking perfect. "This is Admiral of the United Earth Fleet. I am responding to your request for negotiation." Grabbed the communicator himself. "Admiral, we accept your terms. Whatever you want, we will give. Just stop this attack." "There are no terms to accept, High Ascendant. There is no negotiation." "But you must want something. Territory, resources. We will give you anything." "You had something I wanted," said. 1,800,000 of my people. 340,000 children. You took them from me. You cannot give them back." That was a mistake. We did not understand." "You understood perfectly. You killed civilians to make a political point. You murdered children to demonstrate your power. You did this because you believed we were weak. You believed wrong." Felt his legs weaken. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing. I want nothing from you. I am simply telling you what is going to happen. Your military will be destroyed. Your leadership will be captured. Your empire will end. This is not a threat. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact." "You cannot do this. The Galactic Council will. The Galactic Council has already received our message. They will not interfere. They have seen what you did to Harvest 3. They have seen what we are doing now, and they have made their choice. Looked at his advisors. None of them would meet his eyes. How long? He asked quietly. The military phase will be complete in approximately 6 hours. After that, you will be taken into custody to face trial for crimes against humanity. If you cooperate, your people will be treated fairly. If you resist, more will die unnecessarily. The choice is yours. The communication ended. For a moment, no one spoke, then straightened his shoulders. He had ruled for 600 years. He had crushed 100 civilizations. He would not wait here like a coward for the humans to come for him. Prepare my personal ship, he commanded. We will escape to the outer territories, regroup, rebuild. High Ascendant, interrupted a young officer, his voice trembling. Your personal ship was destroyed 12 minutes ago. All escape routes have been blocked. Human forces are landing on the moon's surface. They will be here within the hour. Sat down heavily on his throne. For the first time since he was a child, he did not know what to do. The humans came 53 minutes later. They moved through the fortress with terrible efficiency. Guards who fought were killed. Those who surrendered were restrained and left unharmed. The humans did not torture, did not gloat, did not take pleasure in their victory. They simply completed their mission with cold precision. When they reached the command center, was still sitting on his throne. He had considered killing himself but decided against it. He wanted to understand. He wanted to look into the eyes of these creatures who had destroyed his empire in a single day. The human commander who entered was a woman. She was young, with short dark hair and eyes like stone. High Ascendant, she said, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity. You will be given a fair trial. You will be allowed to speak in your defense. And when you are found guilty, you will be executed. A fair trial, laughed bitterly. You have already decided my fate. We have decided you will face justice. The trial will decide what justice means. She gestured to her soldiers. Take him. As they led him away, looked back at his throne room one last time. The bones of conquered kings still decorated his seat. 12,000 years of victories, all meaningless now. How, he asked the commander, how did you do this so quickly? She paused at the door. We prepared, we planned, and when you killed our children, we stopped being patient. She met his eyes. You should have read our history before you attacked us. We are very good at war. We just prefer not to fight them. She walked out. Behind her, the Dominion was ending, and humanity was just getting started. The trial was broadcast to every corner of the known galaxy. 217 species watched as High Ascendant was led into the courtroom. He wore simple gray clothes instead of his royal robes. His claws had been trimmed. His crown was gone. He looked old and tired, like a creature who had lived too long and seen too much. The courtroom itself was on a neutral space station, chosen because it belonged to no species and served all of them. Representatives from every major civilization sat in the gallery. Some had come to see justice. Some had come to see revenge. Most had come because they needed to understand what had happened and what it meant for the future. Maria Santos was there too. She was 10 years old now, 1 year older than she had been when her world burned. She sat in the front row with other survivors from Harvest 3, her small hand held by a woman who had lost her own daughter in the attack. They did not speak. They did not need to. The trial lasted 17 days. Evidence was presented with careful precision. Recordings of commanders ordering the attack. Communications showing that civilian targets were chosen on purpose. Reports proving that the Dominion knew exactly how many children would die and decided it was acceptable. Was given every chance to defend himself. He spoke for 3 full days. He explained that he had acted according to 12,000 years of tradition. He explained that no species had ever refused the Dominion's terms before. He explained that he had expected humanity to surrender, that the attack was meant to be a lesson, not a massacre. When he finished, the prosecutor asked one question. Did you know there were children on Harvest 3? Yes. Did you know they would die? Yes. Did you order the attack anyway? Yes. The verdict took less than an hour, guilty on all counts. The sentence was death, to be carried out within one standard day. Accepted the judgment without emotion. He had known since the moment of his capture that this was how it would end. He asked only one thing, to understand why his defeat had been so complete. Admiral agreed to speak with him one final time. They met in a small room, separated by a transparent barrier. Sat on one side, his ancient body bent by defeat. Sat on the other, his face calm and unreadable. You fought beautifully, said. In 12,000 years, no one has ever defeated us so quickly or so completely. I have spent every night since my capture trying to understand how. I still do not. What do you not understand? Your precision, your coordination, your patience, shook his head. We attacked your colony and you waited 6 weeks to respond, 6 weeks of silence. Most species would have attacked immediately in anger and we would have crushed them, but you waited, you planned, you prepared. Why? Consider the question carefully before answering. Because anger is a poor general, revenge is a poor strategy. We did not want to hurt you. We wanted to end you as a threat, as an empire, as a power that could ever harm anyone again. That required time. That required thought. That required the absolute certainty that when we struck, we would not need to strike twice. But the pain of waiting. Your people were grieving. They wanted blood. Yes, they wanted blood, and they trusted us to get it for them in the most effective way possible. Leaned forward. You made a mistake, High Ascendant. You thought that because we are young, we are primitive. You thought that because we prefer peace, we are weak. You saw our kindness and thought it was stupidity. And it was not. Kindness is not weakness. Patience is not fear. We choose peace because we know what war costs. We choose diplomacy because we have seen what happens when it fails. Every human child learns the history of our world, the wars, the genocides, the millions who died for nothing. We carry that knowledge with us always. Stood up. You should have studied our history before you attacked us. You would have learned that humans have spent thousands of years learning how to kill each other. We are very, very good at it. The only reason we stopped is because we decided to be better. But the knowledge never went away. The capability never disappeared. We simply chose not to use it. He walked to the door. You forced us to remember who we used to be. You forced us to become that again. And now your empire is gone, and you are going to die, and the entire galaxy is going to remember this moment forever. Called out as reached the door, do you hate me? Paused. No, hate would mean you still matter. You do not. You are simply a problem that has been solved. The door closed behind him. The execution took place the next morning. It was quick and clean, a single injection that stops heart in seconds. He did not suffer. Humanity had promised justice, not cruelty, and they kept their word. Ambassador addressed the Galactic Council that afternoon. The same chamber where she had first met the representatives was now filled with the leaders of 200 species. All of them waited in nervous silence to hear what humanity would say. Walked to the center podium. She was older now, her hair grayer, her face more lined. But her eyes were the same, calm, steady, and absolutely certain. 1 year ago, she began, I stood in the throne room of the Dominion. I offered peace. I offered friendship. I offered a future where our species could work together for mutual benefit. That offer was rejected. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative in turn. 8 months ago, the Dominion murdered nearly 2 million of our people, including hundreds of thousands of children. They did this to teach us a lesson about power. They believed we would surrender. They believed we would accept their terms. They believed wrong. Her voice grew stronger. 6 months ago, we responded. In 16 hours, we destroyed the most powerful military force this region of space had ever known. We did not kill civilians. We did not bomb cities. We did not commit the same crimes that were committed against us. We simply removed the threat completely and permanently. She paused to let the weight of her words settle. Let me be clear about what this means. Humanity does not seek empire. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want tribute or submission or fear. We want only to live in peace, to explore the stars, to build a better future for all peoples. Her expression hardened. But if anyone threatens our people, if anyone harms our children, if anyone believes that we can be intimidated or bullied or broken, they will learn what they learned. We do not negotiate under threat. We do not forgive atrocities. We do not forget. She stepped back from the podium. The Dominion believed we did not understand how the galaxy works. They were wrong. We understand perfectly. We simply refuse to accept it. And now the galaxy must learn to work a new way, our way. The way of peace, cooperation, and mutual respect, or the way of consequences delivered with absolute precision. She looked at Maria Santos, sitting in the gallery with the other survivors. The little girl met her eyes and nodded once. That is all I have to say, thank you. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, 200 species sat in silence, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. Somewhere among them, on a world called Harvest 3, flowers were beginning to grow again. And humanity, the young species, the primitives, the ones who did not understand how the galaxy worked, they went home to bury their dead, heal their wounded, and wait. No one ever tested them again.